practice never makes perfect. Practice makes possible. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. The video doesn't have to be perfect. It is that 80-20 rule too that we bring back. Does the content achieve what we need it to 80%? If that's okay, then let's let it go. Don't worry about that 20% to get it across the finish line. Just worry about the 80% that's going to hit your mark.
Welcome back to Content Logistics. I'm your host, Baylee Gunnell, and today we are diving into a topic that is crucial for B2B marketers, authentic video marketing. In today's digital age, video has become one of the most powerful tools for building connections, telling stories, and boosting brand awareness. But with limited budgets and teams, how can small B2B marketers use video effectively? To help us unpack this, I am joined by Chad Fortenberry, who is an expert in video marketing and content strategy, who has helped numerous B2B brands craft impactful, authentic video campaigns. Let's get into it. Well, it's so great to have you today on the show, Chad. I'm super excited to be talking about authenticity in video marketing, especially for B2B companies. But let's just start off with talking about why is video so important, especially for these B2B companies. I know we've seen it with B2C companies for a really, really long time, and it has definitely been growing a lot with B2B companies, but I just love your take on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things are similar in B2B and B2C, where, purchasing is based off of trust, a lot of times relationships, and a lot of times I would say that people, when they're searching out new companies for products, whether that's, a business product or a SaaS product or things like that, then they'll kind of go to video first. They'll take a look at what's on their website. And then it's a pretty good amount. It's probably 75% of people do that. So it's very important, I feel like, because that if that's the first thing that they're seeing is the video of the company, then, and that's the first entrance before they get to sales, then being able to see that and trust that and have it feel authentic and not feel like it's, they're talking to you, but bringing you into their story and their solutions and being able to figure out, what it is that they provide before it gets to that sales step.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I think that, I love video. I have a bit of a background in video, not quite as much as you do, but that's kind of how I started my career in marketing. And it really can set you apart, but also it's almost just the it's the price to play. I'm saying that weird, but it's kind of just expected, I think, a lot of the time now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people tend to not know where to start. They know that they need video. They know that they hear, SEO runs on video. It's like 80% is, on video. But they don't really know where to start with it. And I think a lot of companies, they want to come across as polished. They want to come across, and if video is the first thing they see, they want it to look great, be great. But I would say don't let every video be a hindrance. Authenticity does win out over polish sometimes if it makes a real emotional connection with that consumer, whether it's a business to business or B2C. So.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like to follow like an 80-20% rule. Like 80% maybe of the video content you're making doesn't need to be super polished or super high budget. Like it's better to get content out there, as whether that's video or blogs or whatever. And then 20% of that should be maybe really high quality. You maybe hire a production studio to make something that's really nice and polished.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. The creative in me wants everything to be polished and great. But it doesn't have to be. It's a lot of times getting that video out there in an honest and authentic way is the best way to do it. Whether that's a, conversation directly from, the CEO or something like that, then they really see, the behind the scenes of what's happening in the company, and it builds trust, it builds connection. It's a little bit more emotionally driven than a high polished piece of content that might sometimes come across as inauthentic because, there could be all these bells and whistles on the video, but if it misses the mark on the audience you're speaking to and doesn't bring them into the fold of what you're talking about, then it just kind of falls flat. With a lot of AI content out there right now too, AI is a tool. It's not going away. It's here to stay. It's how do we use that to our best advantage? And I feel like a lot of things tend to get too heavy-handed on the AI side to where we're losing that authenticity directly from the person. But it will get better, and it will get more hard to discern between the difference between the two. But I will say, just come from a place of authenticity first, and then everything else you can use as a tool to make those things happen.
Yeah. Where have you seen this AI in video specifically? Like, what are some of the trends you're seeing with people using AI to make this video content?
Yeah, a lot of it is on the voiceover side, where you have a lot of different types of voices that you want to go to, but there's different services out there that can clone your voice or mimic your voice or voices of others, and it gets pretty scary. But overall, it still has that robotic feel to it right now. I'm sure it will get better. But I think that's like an immediate turnoff for a lot of consumers, to where they might not know why it's off, why that video is off, but something doesn't sit right or something doesn't feel right. And so that can immediately break that trust. And if the sound is not where it needs to be, if it doesn't have that authentic voice to it, it can feel, just slightly off. And that's kind of what we're seeing a lot lately, where people like it because it's quick, it's fast, they can get stuff out there, but it's still that line that people have to balance between getting it out there and does it actually speak in an honest way.
Yeah, that's really interesting with the voiceovers. I would be really interested just to do a test to see like how many people can tell the difference, and yeah,
Hmm.
just where that goes in the next few years.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, how
We
I'll go for it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have had to use it in the past, even cloning my own voice. I do some voiceovers for us every now and then, and we've used it to where, let's say, I have a full piece that's already done, and, client needs something last minute, and I'm out of the office, or, I'm out on set directing something, then people can jump into my voice and fix
Wow.
it and make it say what it needs to say. And it's passable. It's not 100%, but a lot of times it's hard to tell when it comes to your personal voice and when you clone your personal voice. But when it comes to other voices that are like the stock voices for VO, then that's where it kind of starts to feel still robotic in a sense.
That's really clever. Would you say you're using that more just to fill in gaps, like if you need a little change to the script or something like that, rather than creating the actual full voiceover?
Yeah, I would say predominantly when we, like, say, mispronounce something, or, and we're not available, or something like that, tend to fill in the gaps with that, because I'm always of a mindset that the real authentic voice is the best one to go with, at least for now, and fill in the gaps as needed. Just use it again as a tool to be able to get you further faster, because AI, that's what it's doing, especially in the video world. It's allowing us to be able to do things faster, less monotony in some of the editing that we need, and just really helping us create better content.
Yeah. Have you seen any people or companies use AI footage for their videos? I've seen some tools out there, but personally, I haven't seen anything that I'm like, oh, that would make a great video. But that's at least me personally, and I'm not doing this
Yeah.
every day. But have you seen any tools that have seemed to be successful at this so far?
Yeah, I would say I think it's Sora AI, done by OpenAI, and the content's really good. It's not quite widespread yet. I'd say Coca-Cola actually did an ad with all AI generated things, but they also had a ton of animators and creators that had to work on it and fix little things that were odd and all of that. It's where we've come in the past 5 years is crazy to me, and it's only going to get better, but it's at that tipping point where Some things can pass, some things are just a little bit off. You don't quite know. But I do think it's going to make things a little bit easier for us when we're creating content to really be able to get the exact shot or style or coloring even. There's some AIs out there that can help you go through your color grade for a project and really just kind of help you mimic some of the looks that you're going for.
Yeah, that's so cool. That was a bit of a tangent, but I just love
Yeah,
talking about AI. But
for
let's
sure.
maybe hop back into talking about authenticity. AI is definitely
Yeah.
a tool maybe to help with that. But how
Mhm.
would you define authentic video marketing? What does that look like to you?
I would say authentic video marketing is more emotional in nature. It's telling a story. It's rather than using something, let's say for a SaaS product, telling you all the features and all of the things that go along with that. Tell the story that is this saved my salesperson 10 hours of time. More focus on the solution that's emotional to the consumer or to the business, and really connect with that, because that's where your emotional connection is going to come through. Is okay, well, time is money. That's something that is really, really good for me to save time and get further faster, is what we always say. And just try and create that relationship through emotion, because that's ultimately why people buy something, is trust, and it's an emotional connection. Even though we want to say the data informs every decision, there's still that emotional component that does bring it along with it.
Yeah, I I love your comment. Yeah, the data informs the decision, but when there are so many competitors that do similar things, it's that
Hmm.
emotion that can set you
Yeah.
apart. So what types of emotions would you say a lot of B2B companies are using effectively? Like what kind of heartstrings are you trying to pull? What are you trying to make people feel?
I would say it really depends on the audience, and it depends on who you're speaking to. Just like any marketing, knowing who your audience is, knowing their buying preferences and how they function, then you're going to need to see that, use that data, and figure out, okay, well, how do I speak to this person? What's going to resonate with them? And what's that emotional connection that we can make with that? Now, it still needs to be authentic. It still needs to come from a good place, come from an authentic place, but just really knowing your audience and who you're speaking to is going to be your best way to really figure out what that emotion is that you want to bring across. A lot of, I'd say, I guess, across the board things would be bringing people into your company. Let them see the behind the scenes, let them see from the people that are hands on every single day. It could be following them around in a day in their life to really understand what is it that they're working on, what is the product that they're using. We did that many years ago for a healthcare company where there was a chief marketing officer or a chief nursing officer, and just really following them in a day, see what they do and what does their day look like. I mean, that's an emotional connection that a lot of even the people that work for them or even the people that are buying from them don't really know what they do every day. And that's a story that every single business has. They have stories from all of their employees that could make that connection to another person that needs their service or product.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really powerful from that is that you can share maybe some of the challenges that you're facing too, and that I think really helps with authentic content. One of the guests I recently had on, her name is Dana Hera, and she shared this post
Mhm.
about how Superman is the worst hero because he's perfect. So it's really
Mhm.
hard to relate to him. So a lot of the
Yeah.
times we position ourselves as companies like we're perfect, we are the solution that solves everything, when it's
Mhm.
really hard to relate to, well, it's already really hard to relate to companies, but it's a lot easier to relate to people if they have struggles and they have challenges that they're trying to overcome.
For sure. Yeah, I even tell my girls that practice never makes perfect, practice makes possible. And, it's nobody's ever going to be perfect. The video doesn't have to be perfect. It is that 80/20 rule too that we bring back in that is, does the content achieve what we need it to 80%? If that's okay, then let's let it go. Don't worry about that 20% to get it across the finish line. Just worry about the 80% that's going to hit your mark.
Yeah, make it good enough. We sometimes we definitely as creatives we want to make things as good as possible, but
For
can
sure.
get stuck in making an impact if we get too stuck there.
Hmm.
Great. So, what suggestions would you have to some companies if they've never done video before? This is something brand new to them. What would maybe be the first step for them to start doing this?
I would say the easiest barrier to entry, or to break down that barrier to entry, would be kind of what we're doing right now, a podcast, a video podcast, because I've seen such a huge influx in that in our video space to where it is a conversation. It's connecting with another person. It's talking about your product or your service. I would say start there and don't overcomplicate it. Just start it with conversations and make that connection. And you could bring in, let's say, your vice president that knows about something, and have another person on the team interview them to talk about it. If it's a conversation directly with the team, then just do a simple video podcast that you can send out to your team. And if that's just a corporate communication thing that speaks to the audience of however many people on your team, take 20 minutes to do that and send it out to your team so they can listen to it while they work, when they're doing whatever they need to do. But it makes that authentic connection to where if we keep talking to people, with people, and making those emotional connections just in learning about what they do and learning about what you do, that's a huge bit of content that can be pushed out via all your social channels if it's something you can talk about publicly. I know a lot of times there are some business to business things that can't be spoken about publicly, but focus on the things that can, and then be able to bring everybody else into the fold and connect on that emotional level, because conversations are the best way to get to an emotional connection.
Yeah. Man, that makes me feel really good because that's my strategy right now. So, yeah, I love that, Chad. It is just a really easy way to get started making content. I love it because I get to connect with cool people like you, learn from you, and then also a great way to connect with your customers, learn more about the challenges they're facing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm right there with you,
And
Chad. It's a really easy way.
yeah. And I would say too, like, to have a 40-minute conversation, right, with someone. And then out of that, if you record it, you can reuse all of that content into smaller snippets for social media. It's a one time, sit down for an hour to do things, and then chop it up. Use the tidbits, the snippets from that long conversation into little things that might draw somebody in. It is the best way to get multiple pieces of content, but still feel authentic and connected, because you're still not only talking to another person, but when you're in this format, you're talking to the audience too. And they can feel that authenticity from it, because this is just, I'm sharing about my experience in my life. And hopefully that resonates with somebody to connect with on that emotional level.
Yeah, I love this because it takes the focus from how many downloads did I get? Because I see a lot of people not do something because they're worried, oh, no one's going to listen to it too. Okay, I start with this longer conversation. How many ways can I repurpose this? And how many more eyes can see it? Because I'm making these snippets for social media. I'm making maybe some blog posts. I'm posting on YouTube. And it really
Yeah.
just broadens the way that you can use it without getting so pigeonholed into the number
Hmm.
of downloads you're getting.
Yeah, because there's so much noise out there, and just being consistent in content and posting and having enough stuff to post. I think that's where a lot of businesses are like, I don't have anything. It's like you do, you just have to make it happen, because I block myself a lot to where I'll be like, I don't have anything to post. I don't have anything to post, but you do. You could pull up your phone and you could talk for 10 seconds and you could post something, and that's a direct authenticity, even business to business, where a CEO could do that. So I don't want people to feel like they have to wait till the lights and the cameras are set up. And
Yeah.
of course, I love that because that's my business and that's what I love to do. But don't wait. Just do it. And I'm talking to myself as much as anybody else, because just jumping in and doing it is going to be the best way to get your name out there, to get what you're talking about into the hands of the people that need to see it.
Yeah. I know we're talking about video, but I mean, you could take that a step further and just, if you don't know what to post, did you just give a training to your team at work? Did you have a great internal conversation? Did you have a sales conversation? And you can use those transcripts then to make great content. Some of that might be confidential that you don't want to share, of course, but
Sure.
I'm sure there were some good tidbits in there that would make great content.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get back to video.
Okay.
What tips do you have for people specifically about maybe some tech that they could use? Like, do you have some platforms that you prefer to make good content? Maybe let's talk first, like, if they have a limited budget, what can they do on
Sure.
their own? And then if they want to go bigger scale, what would that process look like?
Yeah, I would say if you're on a limited budget, use all of the free tools that you could possibly can. A lot of us always have a phone in our pocket, and that is a great HD camera that can serve many, many purposes. You can even download free editing tools like CapCut or other editing tools on your phone that can really, if you want to get a little bit more in tune with the editing side and making adjustments and making captions and making different types of graphics that might go on top of it, then use what's free. Don't let that stop you to jump in. As you are getting more into it, then start to build slowly. Or if you want to hire a company to do it, make sure that they're focusing on the strategy of it first before you jump into buying a bunch of gear and then not knowing what to do with it. Have them talk through, well, what does this look like? What are the pieces of content that we're going to come out with each month, and have more of a planning strategy session before you buy gear or jump into gear. But the first thing would be just use what you have. Use the phone in your pocket, get a message out to whoever that you need to speak to, whether that's posting on LinkedIn a thought that you might have. Let's say you're a vice president of marketing and you had this thought of, I want to tell a story about how this one specific product had helped me save time. Then just talk about it and post it, and don't get in your own way, because I do it all the time, to where I get in my own way before I'm able to post something.
Yeah, I've definitely done that myself too. It's been a learning process, just that something's better than nothing. But yeah, I'm using my phone to record this right now too. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good, I think.
Yeah, and even platforms that are a little bit more expensive, like Riverside, that we're recording on now, we use that a ton, especially in our corporate communication type work, where there's a busy employee that can't really come to set and be filmed on set. Then we'll use these types of platforms to really increase their quality a little bit. But also sometimes we'll send out a Go kit, is what we call it. But it's essentially a kit packed with webcam, upgraded webcam, microphones, things like that we can just send out to them, help walk them through it. And then it's usually a faster, quicker way that we can just get content out to all of their team whenever they can't be on site. So we do both, to where, we bring out the big cameras. We do the full thing. We script it. We really think about the strategy of how this video is going to play. But then also we do the very bare bones things to where, we can just have a quick conversation with someone and they just get the information out that they need to get out, and polish that in any way we can in editing to make it feel connected and authentic.
Yeah. How would you recommend if someone is wanting to do a really high production value video and content, how do you keep the authenticity there without it feeling maybe so scripted?
Yeah, it all depends on the story. It really depends on a lot of what we've seen lately. People across the board in audience don't want to be talked at, but they want to be brought into the story that you have. So when you're bringing out the big cameras, especially in B2B content, let's talk specifically about that, where it's, it might be a customer story to where how something helped them. It's focus on those pain points. Focus on the things that have really helped this consumer, this person that's buying your product. Don't focus on the features, because people are going to connect more with, I have that same problem. This is what helped me. And that's like an immediate jump to emotion there, to where it's like, I feel what you're feeling. I have the same problem. Let me talk to you and let me see if what you have can solve my problem as well.
Yeah. If I'm understanding right, it sounds like a lot of the authenticity comes from the storytelling, like you said. A lot of it comes from focusing on the challenges that people are facing rather than filling content with just benefits.
Yeah. And
Or
I will
features.
say,
Yeah.
benefits and features. I will say that I love the splashy edits. I love the fanciness of all the scripting and all that. There's a time and place for that. But if we're really wanting a business to feel more authentic, then bringing people into that story that can solve their problem is going to be the best way to really connect with people before they get to, say, your sales team, or before they get to really understanding what your products and features serve.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of maybe some B2B brands that you've worked with where you've been able to help them create video in an authentic way?
Yeah, I probably can't say specific names mostly, but
That's
but
okay.
yeah, there are times where we have helped brands be able to figure out what it is they want to say, and it all starts, the things that work the best are the ones that, let's start with the story and let's work back from there. Let's start with the story. Let's see who it's going to speak to, and then is this going to serve the purpose that we need it to serve? And there are times that we have had people that didn't need the big camera, didn't need the fancy camera, and that's okay. There's still a way to approach it where we just need to get a story out. And I've shot things on iPhones before because it is the quickest, fastest way we could get information to their audience. So I would say, don't let barriers to entry stop you, and just really focus on the story. I always go back to it because it's the way that's going to speak in an authentic way. Companies want to be polished. They want everything to look great. They want it to feel great. But authenticity can quickly fall flat when that story does not come through and it's not focused on.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how big your budget is or how big your cameras are. If the story isn't there, the content will not resonate. Great. Well,
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of times where customer stories, number one, are going to be your best way. Information from the employees and behind the scenes content That's going to be another way to create that trust and connection. Testimonials from customers and the problems and pain points that they solve. That's going to be another way to really get connected to others. And then just have conversations. Conversations like a podcast or conversations with your customers to really focus on what are they dealing with, and let's frame the content around those pain points and really help bring them into the fold of your business.
Yeah, that's a really great idea and just a simple way to get started with this content, especially if you've never done video content before. But we're coming up on time, but are there any other tips you have, Chad, for just authenticity or video in general?
I would say that don't let video be last in your campaigns. Bring it in with every other piece of content that you're creating. A lot of times I see businesses think about video last and they're like, we have this surplus of budget. Let's do a video because they know they need it. But don't let it be last. I think that's where you'll lose your authenticity, because if you bring it in first with the campaign, look at your audience, look at your data, look at where you're going to place this video. Is this a paid video or is this something that's organic? Think about that, because the audiences can be completely different between the two. Is this a corporate communication type piece where it's just going to employees? That audience is completely different. So yeah, I would say just don't let video be last. Bring it into every other piece of content and create a whole well-rounded strategy into what you are pushing out to your consumer or to your other business. But let video be at the forefront of what you're thinking about.
Yeah. Video should help with everything else you have going on, whether that's SEO, like we talked about in the beginning, paid, like you just barely talked about, with it really, it like fuels. I wanted to say help, but I feel like it really fuels a lot of the success in these campaigns, not just helping whatever else is going on.
It does.
Well,
and, the easier part about video is that it takes however long the video is to understand what that story is. A lot of times, if you're going to blog content, you got to read through it and you got to digest the story. So a video is a good entrance into all your other content.
completely agree. So I have my favorite question, Chad. What is your biggest content marketing ick? So this could be related to video content that you've seen. Is there some campaign you've recently seen that you just really didn't like, or just something that see companies get wrong?
Let's see. I got to really think about this. Let's see what
I can share one with you really quick if you want to think about it. Mine this week, we had a training on AI advertisements, which that's I think maybe where we started with that tangent, but we talked about the ChatGPT one in the Super Bowl. If you saw that with all the black and white dots, it was a cool ad. It looked really nice, but no, I don't think anyone knew what the ad was for until the last 5 seconds. So that would be my ick is, again, storytelling, not telling a story, not letting people know who you are or the value they'll get from using you.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I think not using comedy in the right way is probably my marketing ick, because comedy is so subjective between so many people and opinions. I come from a comedy background, so a lot of it is I'm probably too close to. So I would say that's my ick, is when comedy is not used properly, which can make authenticity fall flat so quick if you're not connected at all with what their humor is.
Yes, 100%. There is nothing more uncomfortable than someone trying to make a joke when it's just not, either it's not their personality or it's not the time or place.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Well, Chad, where can people go to learn more about you?
I post on Instagram at Chadwick Elliott. I post about what I'm doing as far as video content, and That's probably the biggest place I post. And then also on at massivemission.com, at Massive Mission on Instagram as well, or massivemission.com. Being the director of production here, I get all of our content out there, connect with all of our content. So it is the best place to see not only what am I up to in work, but what am I up to in life. And then LinkedIn too, with Chad Fortenberry at LinkedIn. So.
Fantastic. I'll attach all those links in the show notes so people can find you. But thanks again for hopping on today, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, sounds great.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of Content Logistics. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss the next episode. Bye.